What up, though? It is another Thursday. This is Knockouts and Three Counts, and bang, bang. It is time for the return of our guy, Bulletproof Troop, but it is also fight week. If you've been paying attention this Tuesday, we had Joey Collage and James Aquaman Barney before they step into the ring for their Muay Thai clash at Mitten Muay Thai 4 going down Clinton Township, Michigan, Imperial House. But I can show you a lot better than I can tell you. Check out this promo video, and if you haven't already done so, get you some tickets. The links are in the description. Enjoy this little snippet of what you're going to see this weekend, and I promise you, you'll enjoy the show.
The best 154-pound striker in the state of Michigan.
No one's seen my potential yet.
No one here wants to fight this kid. And here comes this kid from Kentucky who doesn't give a fuck.
I'll see you at the weigh-ins, pussy.
How tall is he? Like 5'5", 5'6"?
Collage brings unmatched technique, but Aquaman Barney is a finisher who pulls his opponents into the deep and leaves them gasping.
I'm gonna knock him the fuck out.
My goal this fight is to put him out.
The prediction is violence, a lot of blood.
Two fighters, face to face, everything on the line. This is MMT4.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
We got a new world champion! That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby. It's the real deal, baby.
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Are you ready? Oh, shit, I'm not stuck at the Creed concert no more. This is Knockouts and Three Counts, and we got a new one coming at you. Like I said, bang, bang, we've got the return of our guy, Bulletproof Troop. My guy, how you doing?
Doing well, my man. About to go head over and do my second conditioning for the day. About 15 days out to fight Saturday, December 7th, like you said, for Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. Doing good. Training
I
my
love
ass
it, dude.
off.
Corey,
Okay,
J-Bone,
biggest
how
fight
the
of my
fuck you
career.
doing,
He's
my
doing
dude?
better than us, man. Look at the guy. He's looking jacked.
Well, I mean, the guy's always looking
Yeah,
jacked.
2
I
weeks
feel
out,
like,
baby. Fighting heavyweight, no weight cut.
don't let him lie to you, bro. It's just a skin suit that he puts on.
Right, yeah. I got to get me one of those for Halloween, dude.
It's just good lighting, actually. It's all about the lighting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I need a lot better lighting. Shout out to everybody that's checking out. We got about 30 people in here right now. But like I said, man, it's always a blast to have you back on. You know, the last time you were in town, we didn't get the link up, but man, we've had some good times, man. Wiz Khalifa concerts. Fucking, I'm ready to see you do your thing at Lights Out, man. Before we get started, I mean, that was a damn good time. But with that said, dude, you got to tell me what's new in the world of Bulletproof Troop, man. It's been a minute since you've been on.
Well, as you know, I moved back to California from Florida earlier in the year to pursue this fight. Things didn't happen with the contract negotiations and got injured, and basically took summer off, enjoyed summer, had some fun, and now figured out fucking things for December 7th, and I've been putting in work now for a few months. I'm excited. So outside of that, not a whole lot. Just moved back to California, but for this fight, you know, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I'm going to end up next after this fight. I moved to California to train for this, and I'm going to kind of figure out maybe in January where the next best spot for me is. I've got a few options I'm playing with in my head.
I was going to ask you about that. I know you've been out there training in Cali. I mean, I know there's a lot of good training in Florida with places like Kill Cliff and all kinds of stuff like that. Why California?
Because my home gym, my home coach, my head coach that I've just been training with for so long. I'm not trying to go in and, you know, it's probably a retirement fight for me more than likely. Where I'd rather go in and be dealing with coaches that are very familiar with me and my game and so forth, and that I trust, and with training partners I trust and like so forth, as opposed to just being another guy at a gym who's you know, I'm in here and now I got potentially younger guys trying to like prove something during sparring instead of us getting there to get better. You know, particularly I'm 37. I'm not trying to have fucking bunch of hard ass rounds like some 19, 20-year-old kid who's an amateur, who's like trying to prove something. He's sparring with a guy who's, you know, a decade pro. Like, just the right environment, in my opinion, to prepare myself to perform optimally on Saturday, December 7th. So I'm back here, and I don't know what's next for me because I don't think California's the spot after this fight. Hey, stop. Sorry, it's my dog.
Tiger Dog's trying to make his debut.
He was just over like nudging me, and now he's over there like being a dick because he's like, give me more attention. You want to ignore me? Watch this. But yeah, I don't know. I've been to a few places, which I'm going to keep in my back pocket until around after the fight when I make the decision, I think. But I've got two really good, two main spots I think that I'm going to go to.
So what's your favorite things that you're liking now that you're back in Cali, bro? I love Cali. I've been to Cali more times than I could count. What are you liking being back over there from Florida?
You know,
I feel like I know what the answer to this is.
It's cool being home. You know, but after like 5 years of not being here, it's good seeing some of my old friends and stuff, and like catching up with people and so forth. And like, I liked that when I moved to Florida, everything was new, and like now I'm back and everything's familiar, which I don't not like. It's cool when it's good. Like I got my burrito spots, but I'm in LA. Even when I was living in Florida, like once a week or once a month, anyway. So I got to see everything here. So like, it's cool. Dude. It's getting fucking cold. I like Florida where it's warm all the time.
Your idea of cold and our idea of cold are two different things.
That is true. I'm from California. If I gotta fucking put on a jacket, my man, it's fucking.
Yeah, what's cold in California though? Like, what's the temperature is cold in California?
I bet you it's like 60 degrees outside right now. I'll tell you right now.
58. Hot damn.
58. It's freezing.
It was 35 here today, sir.
Yeah, and snow. We got some snow finally.
Yeah, the first of it.
Oh.
Hell yeah!
Everybody
I'm not too happy with that shit.
I'll go visit the snow.
No, dude.
Hey, man.
I'll visit the snow. I can't go and like live. I did one season in the snow, bro, and it's not for me. I love the snow to go visit and like go snowboarding, but live in it and like have to like shovel yourself out to a car and a car out of the driveway and ice off the windshield. No thanks. I'll leave that to y'all motherfuckers. I'm a different kind of white person.
It puts us all in a bad mood every morning. I tell you that much.
That part. It really fucking does, though, because you wake up and you get ready to go to work and you're like, motherfucker, now I got to done heat up the car. We got to scrape off the window. You know, I could get used to, I always said, because I used to go out to San Diego a lot because my uncle used to play for the Padres and shit. And so we'd go out there and hit, and I got to surf a few times. I always said, I was like, dude, if I ever lived in California, I swear to God, I would go to the ocean like every day.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I'm used to the cold.
I take my dog to the DOGBEACH. I just can't say it. Otherwise, he'll come running over like, what?
Where are we
But he loves the water as well. He's a swimming dog. Little tiger shark, I call him.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, the ocean's nice. Cali's dope. I like living by a big thing of water. And when I moved to Florida, it was lucky that that's where the coach was, and I felt like it was the right place for me. Because I could have been moving to fucking Kentucky, which is a possibility right now. My next place may be Kentucky.
Right. Which Kentucky's a beautiful spot, man. It really is. It's a beautiful spot. The mountains, man. But as I get a little older, the mountains are calling my name. I tell you what.
See, I'm probably gonna have to. I don't think it'll be Kentucky. It's just probably snowing in Kentucky, right? It's probably snow there until March, April.
Yeah, Kentucky.
If
I'm going mountain hunting, I'm looking more Tennessee side. But I mean, the mountains is just the mountains in general.
I mean, I'd be going for wrestling. I'd be moving out there to train at Dr. Tom's wrestling school. Would be why I'd be going to Kentucky.
Jacob's Pritchard joint. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
Well, since you brought up wrestling, bro, before we get into
where the other place.
Sorry, my bad. It lagged.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is since you brought up wrestling, dude, talk to me about that, dude. You know, you've made your return to the wrestling ring out there with the NWA. Did you find your Amish side? What the fuck?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I have a distant like fourth cousin who's Amish, and so we're like technically like fifth cousins on my fucking mom's cousins, fucking somebody's side. I don't know, but man, I'll tell you what, turn. Those dudes are fun to work with. Usually they come out with a chicken too, but the TV studio wouldn't let the chicken in. So I think they were afraid somebody was going to choke it on camera.
Yeah, the Godwins fucked that one up for them.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. So what was the reception back in NWA? How did it feel to get to be back over there in the NWA? And is are we going to be seeing you regularly in the wrestling ring again after this fight?
Yeah, so absolutely more of the wrestling ring again. I came out here to focus on this fight. And then when I got injured, I couldn't wrestle either. And so I took a little bit of time off from there. But absolutely, you're seeing much more emphasis on professional wrestling stuff. I've competed for Relentless Pro Wrestling's heavyweight titles against a guy named Slice Boogie in September on short notice. Had a great match with him. And like you said, I was at the last NWA television tapings, and it was great. They brought me in. They wanted me to look really strong. I just came out and crushed people. So it went really well. It was, they've got a lot of their own storylines going on at the moment with Sam Hain, which was on the October 26th, their Halloween pay-per-view, which looked like a great show. And then coming up on December 14th, Looks to Kill or something like that in Dothan, Alabama, which is another where they're having a lot of storylines building up into these big events. So they just gave me random stuff. One of them like, hey, you're in a 6-man tag, you and your distant Amish cousins against the Russian and the English. It's like America versus Europe, I guess, or or the rest of the world. I don't know. I'm not really sure where those dudes are from.
They were giving me definite roadkill vibes.
Well, yes, you'll be seeing more of me.
Yeah, I was about to say roadkill. Yeah.
Definitely reminded me of Roadkill. That was the first thing I thought when I saw them.
I'm like, oh shit, he's teamed up with Roadkill. Hell yeah. Well, shout out to the NWA, man. We were just down at me and Joseph just went down to check out ICP and Juggalo Championship Wrestling. We ran into past guests of the show, the Southern Six. We saw Alex Taylor and Kerry Morton. Shout out to Joe Galley. He was there as well. We also just chopped it up with TNA champ Nick Nemeth, who was on there going against Kerry that night. Hell of a good show. And then we got a concert out of it too. I highly recommend if you're ever in the area, but just be ready for some face paint.
Oh yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. But with that said,
yeah, Southern Six, those are some fucking good guys.
Dude, the Thrill Billy, that's the first time I got to see him kick the shit out of somebody in person. We've talked a lot about him on the show, being that shout out to Miranda Gordy, past guest of the show. She told us that Thrill Billy would have been who she handpicked to play her pops in the Iron Claw. So definitely an interview at some point we've got to make happen. I was trying to catch him at the show because I know he saw our clip with Miranda and was like, oh my God, I'm honored. Like, it was funny because Miranda, when we brought her on for that, I'm like, so was there anybody like you guys thought of when you found out about the movie who you'd want to? She's like, dude, I would have totally handpicked him to play my dad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
he does. He looks like he could be a Terry Gordy doppelganger, bro.
Yeah, legit.
Definitely could. He could beat the shit out of somebody like Terry too. But speaking of wrestling and beating the shit out of people, you got to tell me. So this fight is for Lights Out Extreme Fighting. You've gotten to work with him a bunch on the commentary table, but the boss man, Sean Merriman, was making himself some run-ins over with the homies at TNA with past guests of the show, AJ Francis. So with that said, you got to tell me, what are your thoughts on Sean Merriman making a foray into the wrestling ring?
I think it's great. I really look up to Sean. I think Sean is able to do anything that he wants to do. You're watching him come out with a top-tier fight promotion. Then now he has a sports streaming platform. Like, if he wants to pro wrestle, Sean, and not only that, but Sean's built like a tank, bro.
Yes.
Anything Sean wants to do, Sean's going to be able to do. It's why I look up to him so much. And I think that if he wants to invest himself in professional wrestling, then he'll be able to crush it. I think he'll be out there doing his thing. I'd like to see him do that as well.
I feel like we need to get you two as a tag team. That's a couple
of being him.
You and Sean as a tag team, I feel like would be a killer, bro.
That'd be awesome. I think that Sean's his own star. What I would love to try and do something with them. I think Sean's a big on his own type star, though. I think that it's the only way you can bring Sean in. I think anything else takes away a little bit on him. I think Sean being but I don't know. Would I like that? Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think Sean's such a big name, though.
Fucking, you could just be as heavy. You could just be as heavy. They got to make it through you to get to him, and then he beats the shit out of him.
All right. You know.
Yeah.
That'll
But
work.
Sean's a tank. Sean just run him over. Like as much as I would like a position like that, I think the biggest way to do it would be to Sean be running his shit and being fucking Sean lights out Merriman, and then Bulletproof doing his. Not that we couldn't be cool or have some type of like whatever, but.
Hey man, I dig it. Like I said, I
would
get
love
what
to
you're
work
saying.
with Sean. Like I said, I really look up to Sean. So like if there were possibilities for me to do something like that with him, I would fucking jump at the
I feel like that would spell big trouble for the NWA, but what the fuck do I know? But now that it's been announced, everybody knows that you're going to be having this fight for Lights Out and all that stuff, and you've made your return to NWA. Has NWA said anything about their thoughts about you coming back into the ring or coming back into the cage? Like, I mean, I think that's a good look, bro.
So I spoke with them. I mean, I thought this fight was going to happen, like I said, much sooner in the year because I moved back to California in like late March, April to potentially fight by June. So yeah, when I talked to them about that, yes, they had mentioned that if I was champion, that they'd be willing to bring that up on air, and I could be Blake Bulletproof Troop Lights Out Extreme Fighting Heavyweight Champion on the show. Not that the belt could potentially trade hands on the show, but that they would be cool with utilizing that type of branding with me during the show, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
But shit, that was supposed to be months ago, and then they, I wasn't necessarily booked on the last taping I was at. I just got myself there, and they had stuff for me, and so it ended up working out. But obviously, gave me a very, very strong showing in both nights, including main event for the second night's live show. But yeah, who knows? I definitely think that it would help me to have that on Lights Out Extreme Fighting, and they're down to push it. So we'll see. That we haven't spoken about any set plans for it, but I mentioned it to him when I was going to go focus on fighting for a little bit, and I'm excited to get to that part of it as well.
I think it'd be dope, dude. Like I said, I mean, obviously with us being an MMA and combat sports show too, I always love the crossover when our two worlds kind of like collide. So like I said, for me, I'm always for that. I think it would be a good look.
Any gold on TV is good gold on TV. You know what I mean? Any belt's nice and shiny.
He's always posting about jewelry, bro. I mean, he comes back with a new piece of jewelry, and then now
the best jewelry, a championship
more
belt.
jewelry than your favorite rapper, baby.
That's what
I like it. I like it. Well, dude, talk to me about that. Now let's kind of shift over a little bit to the fight side of things. What made, I mean, obviously you said that you were hoping that this fight was going to happen much sooner than it did, but what made now like the time for you to want to come back? I mean, I know you've been trying to play your hand in the pro wrestling game now for a couple years at this point. We've seen you do the Control Your Narrative. You've been doing NWA for a while. We've seen you a bunch of different places. What made now and what gave you the itch to want to fight again?
Well, so I guess I can answer that several ways. This fight was supposed to happen, not against this opponent, but Lights Out Extreme Fighting Heavyweight title was supposed to happen for me March 13th, 2020. Main event, Fox Sports Network, which was a Friday the 13th, actually. And if you're really good with dates, you'll know that the world started shutting down on the 12th. Woke up the day of weigh-ins to find out biggest fight of my career was canceled because of COVID. 3 weeks to flatten the curve turned into fucking, like 9 months later, I moved to Florida, and California didn't open for a long time later. So I just decided to move on with my career, roll with the punches, and get into pro wrestling before it was too late for that window to close. I really wanted to get that belt. And I'd accepted that my competitive career was over and started doing commentary. And then I got pitched on the idea of potentially fighting and doing commentary on the same card, fighting main event for the belt while doing commentary for the first half of the card. And when I heard that, I was like, man, that's a big opportunity, which has only been done several times in combat sports. As far as I know, only one time they got commentated and then fought. Frank Shamrock fought and then commentated, but that's different.
Yeah.
And so it being a big opportunity like that with some media exposure, because I'm going to come out. The show's going to open. Welcome to Lights Out Extreme Fighting. I'm going to be in a fucking suit, blah, 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 talking, opening the show up. Sit down at the commentary table, commentate the first half of the card, then go in the back, warm up, and come out and fight in the main event. Where now it's much more of a moment. coming back fighting for the belt, main event. You know, and it's likely going to be a last fight. You know, at least in my opinion, a competitive one where I'd still be open to taking fun exhibition style type fights, you know, like celebrity boxing match against fucking Mike Tyson or Holyfield, you know, or like where I'm coming out and we're not competing at that point. Or if it is, it's like a gentleman's competition per se, you know, where like I'm not trying to stay in the rankings and keep fighting dudes, but the right opportunity popped up that made me decide to come back and take one more.
What up, though? Chris checking in from Massachusetts. Appreciate you, brother, man.
You talked about the injury and stuff kind of being a setback and why you weren't able to make this fight happen initially and stuff. With everything you had invested into the wrestling side and stuff like that, was there any thought ever of just leaving the fighting career behind, not making the move back to California and chasing this dream back down?
Absolutely. I 100% did consider that. And I think that me coming out here and doing this has caused my pro wrestling side to be on hold or even potentially fall back a little bit. But I felt like it was the right sideways step at the time in my career because I also think that my brand is as valuable as it is because of my relevance within combat sports. I don't feel like I need to go back and fight to prove that I'm the tough guy or blah, 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 or the fight, blah, blah, blah. I've done that. I've been there, done that. But I do think winning a title there and having now a heavyweight, a big regional shows heavyweight title coming out, and then commentating part of the card, where I think it gives me enough media relevance and an opportunity for me to satisfy a childhood dream of coming. I wanted to be UFC champion, and I accept that wasn't going to happen probably. You know, I mean, I never say never, but like if I get the lights out of stream fighting heavyweight championship, I'd say checkpoint where I can feel better about having moved on. You know, when COVID happened, I wasn't going to sit there and hang on to it forever. But now that it's reappeared, in my opinion, in a way that makes sense, looking enough at the picture for the juice of the squeeze, was worth it. You know, I would have liked it to happen sooner. Not that the injury was extremely debilitating, but it did prevent me from being able to train or trust that I could train at a competitive level in order to prepare. It wasn't like I had an ACL tear or some crazy shit. It was minor. But at the same time, when it's minor but preventing me from putting, because when you start training for a fight, like I don't look like this from just chilling, you know, I've been fucking grinding. And I wanted to make sure that I was in a position where my body was ready to grind as hard as I knew it needed to grind to go out there and do what I need to do. That was a long ass answer, and I don't remember exactly what the question was, but I think I hit it somewhere in there.
Yeah, you got it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, dude, talk to me a little bit more about that. I mean, we talked about what made now the right time for you to fight, but now let's talk about the guy that you're stepping in the cage with. Talk to me about your opponent. What are your thoughts on this fight? You know, what challenges do you think he's going to present for you December 7th?
So he's a tough dude, you know. I think that is a very tough fight. So his name is Kelvin the Big Hit Fidial, and he's like 280-pound Samoan slugger, big dude. 14-14, so I'm 8-6. So he has twice the experience I have. Fought, I want to say maybe 8 or 9 times since my last fight, maybe even more than that. Been fighting professionally since like 2007. Like, dude's a veteran, has a ton of experience. Big dude, hits hard. I'm about 240 right now, but I feel like I'm much more athletic, and I don't move like a heavyweight. I move like a welterweight. I'm quick. I move around. I cut angles. And I also come in and fight much more strategically and technically now that I'm an analyst and commentator. I used to come in and fight people. Now I come in and I strategically pick people. I win strategically, where before I used to just fight people, which it's fun to watch, but like it's I evolved as a fighter. And so I got a big, tough dude who's going to want to come in and like swing at me and fight me. And I'm just going to be cutting angles on him and touching him, putting him on his back and pounding on him. You know, I think it's a tough fight. You got to watch out for his big, heavy hands, but I think that I'm going to be able to touch him, put him down, either with wrestling or with my hands, and get the finish. You know, tough dude though, very tough dude, big dude.
You brought up the advantage in commentating and then still being an active fighter at the same time. We only see a couple of the guys in the UFC that are still accepting fights at this point that are behind the mic. I mean, Kyle, you can speak to this. Me and you have called a couple fights now. It really is like the closest thing I feel like that you can get to fight experience where you're you're so close to watching it and you're analyzing it and you're trying your best to add, you know, to commentate on what you're seeing while actually being one step ahead and seeing what the next move may be for the, you know, opponent, or how they can get out of it, or whatever the case be. It really does add a layer of experience, I guess, to your game. Like, it's got to be the closest thing to in cage time.
I agree 100% because I'm sitting there analyzing different strategies, this and that, and seeing how things work or how effectively they work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, it's not like I didn't know a lot of this stuff before. I would just go in and just fight people, you know, like. But over the last 5 years, my understanding of fighting has significantly improved by watching and studying fighting so much, and then being able to explain these tactics, which is why I feel like we're going to see the most technical bulletproof troop that we've ever seen on December 7th. And I think the best bulletproof troop that we've ever seen on December 7th, despite having years taken off. I think that we're going to see the smartest competitor inside of that cage. And as a result, we're going to see the best version of myself. And something else worth noting, no motherfucking weight cut, baby. Fuck.
No weight cut is always a beautiful thing, dude.
Yeah, dude. So, like, I even had two when I cut, I made 170 once, believe it or not. I'm like 240 right now.
Get the fuck out of here. 170
yeah,
where? In a leg?
So no, I made it Hawaii. My second fight was at 170 pounds, welterweight.
No shit.
So I'm 240 right now, but I can make 170 again. I can be 170 tomorrow. I'd have to cut my dick off to do it, but I'd be there in one snip.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Don't clip that one.
Don't clip that one. Well, dude, you kind of let into Corey. Kind of let into something I wanted to talk about. Well, that kind of led into something I wanted to ask you, though, dude. Like, with the whole commentary thing now, you know, as Corey mentioned, you know, I've gotten to call a bunch of fights. I'll be calling fights again this weekend for Mitten Muay Thai 4. What are the biggest, I mean, obviously, other than what you said with, you know, changing, you know, wanting to go out there and get in these brawls and fight people, what did doing commentary, like, what were the biggest things that it made you realize, that made you say, okay, shit, I need to change the way I'm fighting? What were the things that you noticed that are making you look like, okay, maybe I got to reevaluate my game plan when I step back in the cage?
So the more I watch fighting, the more and like not just analyzing for years now, watching a bunch of different fighters throughout the sport, not just the ones that I'm necessarily commentating for. You watch the entire sport grows and evolves. You got to be able to analyze a continuously evolving subject, including all kinds of new variables of people and shit. So like so keeping up with all this for so long and watching different guys' careers and this and that, and like looking at so many different aspects of where people are in their career. You want to know what I think the number one skill is to having combat sports? I'm interested to hear what each of you guys say first, and I'm going to say.
All right, Corey, you go first since I see you squirming over
Number one skill in MMA. Like the best, if you could have any skill, best skill, what would it be? To have like a great long career. Like you want to go out there, you want to have like a full-on career in combat sport.
I feel like
it doesn't have to be long, but like you want to have I
feel like the go-to answer here is wrestling, because it's been the base that everybody has talked about for years being the best thing that you could possibly have. But
I'm not mad at that answer.
I feel like with what we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years in MMA with the takeover of Izzy and now Alex Pereira and stuff like that, I feel like a really solid kickboxing game with the anti-wrestling background is really the new hotness.
It's definitely one of the trends right now. And it's interesting how we see things go from specialist to very well-rounded. A specialist, because it started as specialist. So wrestling, yes. I like that answer.
Yeah, Corey, I thought we were going deeper here. I'm thinking like mental patience or something. You know what I mean? Like we need patience in this game.
No, not bad. I'm not mad at that
mental
either.
warfare,
I think my shit
bro.
ties into that too.
With me, but who am I?
My answer was going to be fight IQ, bro.
I like that as well. I'm not mad at. So I think all of those answers are right, and they tie into what I would say the number one thing is. Number one skill for having a career in combat sports is an ability to avoid damage. Wrestling, yes. Fight IQ, patience, all that time. But the ability to avoid damage. The guys that are coming out here and having fucking wild brawls don't typically last that fucking long.
This is true.
Like coming out and being able to be smart about the amount of damage you take within the ring. Like I plan on using my voice and my brain for the rest of my career. I'm not trying to go out and have another fight where I earn the nickname Bulletproof. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that doesn't mean I'm not trying to come out and fight exciting and finish a guy. But now I'm coming out and I'm playing a strategic game of chess to beat this motherfucker instead of just standing toe-to-toe, rock'em, shock'em robots, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, you're going to get hit. I'm not saying don't ever get hit some skill. No, it's avoid as much, or an ability to avoid taking damage. Yeah, because you're going to take damage. But the guys that aren't in there, like, how much damage did John Jones take this weekend?
Not a lot. None, pretty much.
Bro, that's why he's like one, in my opinion, is the greats. When he takes damage, like, man, they're close.
Look at the Gustafson fight, bro. He had a lot tougher fight.
Same thing. How much damage did Khabib take? Well, I'm not downplaying or overplaying, but
and you got to go to the,
like,
you got to go the other way.
For 16 years.
Look at Tito.
John Jones is one of the best at avoiding damage.
Look at Tito Ortiz. He can barely even talk these days.
Yeah, well, like Nam Fan, like, and I'm not bashing these guys, but like, you want to have a career in combat sports and potentially later an ability to avoid damage. And to that, be watching this and being like, man, I need to fucking make sure that I'm in there avoiding damage. And I'm gonna fight smart. I get all this technical side of it. Just like sometimes you get caveman and the dick comes out and starts swinging. You know, like
that's how it goes sometimes.
You gotta love it. You're talking about bare knuckle and stuff, bro. That's right up the alley with that kind of stuff with BKFC, man. But I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you see that so much in like the way that like a lot of guys will burn out because of that. When you think of like a guy like Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is in wars every fucking fight. But yes, it makes him very entertaining to fight. But now at a certain point, dude, your chin has to go. The same as you hear people talk about in pro wrestling, there's a such thing as a bump card. And it's the same whether you're talking about pro wrestling or a fight or whatever, because that's why you see these guys when they get in there and they spar and they take one little tap and a guy's going down, when it's a guy who you watched just go take all these shots. You know, one of the guys who I think might have one of the best chins of all time, and I don't know how his chin is even still like intact, is fucking Clay Guida, dude. Like, Clay Guida gets in wars every time and still puts his head down, and all you see is hair everywhere, and this motherfucker's throwing, and his chin still hasn't gone away. But I say that to say, like, usually guys like him, guys like Diego Sanchez, guys like that, where they're in these big wars, dude. I mean, you can only do that for so long, and that totally makes sense and lends credit to what you were saying earlier about how, you know, doing the commentary thing, how that makes you look at fight totally different.
Yeah, and like, I still want to fight exciting, but like, there's a difference in my opinion between like fighting recklessly and coming out and fighting strategically. You know, I'm still going to fucking battle with this motherfucker. Still trying to hurt him and knock him out and finish the fight. I'm not saying try and point a guy, but I think being able to avoid damage, or at least strategic about the damage that you take. Fuck, I'd rather take a good shot and fucking land 4, 5, 6 good shots on it. You know, like. Yep. But one for one, you know, like, be strategic about when it's coming or what it's coming, because you're gonna take some damage sometimes, maybe to get in and land that shot that's gonna put him down and finish the fight. You know, like, but strategic.
Well, so that means when you do get back in the wrestling ring, you're not going to like go stand in the middle and trade chops then, huh?
I'm not a huge fan of chops, bro. Like, I'll give someone a chop or two, but like, so I got chopped in my last match. And, you know, for like 5 days, 6 days, I have a hand mark on my chest. I couldn't believe I'm like, still here. I remember, so I've only been chopped a few times in matches. Very rarely do guys chop me. And I got chopped in this one match, and we're just on the outside, and the guy's like, chops. I'm like, all right, smack. 1, 2, boom. All right, and I keep beating it. And it's like fucking 30 seconds later, 40 seconds later, he goes, chops. And I'm like, really, motherfucker? He chops me once, I turn this, smack, motherfucker. We like turns his back. Smack on his back, bitch. You want to start chopping? We can start chopping, motherfucker. I'm not a fan of chops, though. Don't fucking chop me.
Kyle, you ever done one of those chops at the you see those guys at the boots that always want the people to chop them and shit?
Dude, I do not understand what the obsession with that shit is.
No, like, thank you, bro. Dude, but I don't know. One dude get kicked in the balls, remember?
Dude, that guy Gucci Berry, bro. That big Gucci Berry guy, dog, like that's his whole thing on YouTube. Like this guy gets like drop kicked in the nuts. Who was it? The UFC fighter that he let just walk up and like full on like kick him square in the fucking nuts.
We were at Astronomicon. He let Matt Riddle.
Matt Riddle do it. That's it. Right after we interviewed Matt Riddle, right in front of us. Fucking A. He goes, "You want me to just kick you in the nuts?" And I'm like, "This motherfucker, dude." And he let him kick him like 4 times in the nuts, and this dude just didn't move. I'm like, "What?" Like, do your nuts not work? Like, what? Like, if he had kicked me once, I'd have been dead. But he, like, full on, like, took a step back and kicked this dude, like, 3 times in the fucking
But
nuts,
here's the thing.
and he just ate it.
Like, let's say, like, for whatever reason, like, dude doesn't have nuts, whatever. Still getting kicked, like, in the taint 3 times, hard as fuck.
Up,
like,
dude.
how does that not still hurt? Even if it ain't
That's what I'm
saying.
Yeah, I don't like you said. I don't get the obsession with that shit,
dude. And Riddle even said it after the fact. He's like, "Holy shit! Like I kicked him hard. I don't know."
Yeah, dude.
I don't know.
You want to come here and say hi? Come here, right here. Come here. Over here. Come here.
Tiger Dog is gonna make his debut on Knockouts and 3 Counts, man. Dude, so you got it. That's a good thing to ask you. Like, what is it you think that? I mean,
Tiger
Dog.
Tiger Dog.
The podcast.
You don't always get to you don't always get to see like the good side of it, but there's a lot of crossovers we've seen between MMA and wrestling that have panned out well. What do you think as a fighter yourself it takes for somebody to come over from MMA to wrestling for that to be able to translate well? Because we've also seen people where it just doesn't translate well.
Yeah.
Like Daniel Puder.
I think personality number 1. I don't think there's any substitution for that. I think anybody can come over and do fucking whatever moves, but no one's gonna give a fuck on personality. I think number 1. I mean that's the biggest thing. I think you can teach anybody to do it. I think that the moves, because you're gonna learn pro wrestling to figure out how to kind of adapt your 2 things together. But like personality and coachability, and I would say that for anybody trying to do any of it, personality and coachability. But given I don't know, I'm not in the fucking WWE, so fuck do I know. Well, but I would say that for any a fighter trying to come to pro wrestling is great. 110% volume on your personality, and then and be coachable and listen and try stuff. And don't what if or could I?
That line kind of goes too, because a lot of guys will come back and forth and just be like, I know this and I know that. I'm already tough. You know what I mean? It's just not the same. It doesn't resonate the same. Pro wrestling and MMA. It's got to be the perfect mix to come back and forth. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. You got to be coachable.
You just got to build the foundation of the pro wrestling foundation on pro wrestling fundamentals, and then apply your twist to it, not the other way around.
Yeah.
I think you come in, and let's see if you're trying to like really have a career work in pro wrestling. Because given, I think it's different if a person's going to come in and work a little bit, and they're very one-dimensional, gimmicky. Because the whole match might even be planned based around what they can do, but trying to have a career, come and learn basic fundamental pro wrestling, and then you'll start seeing like, but I could do this. I need to learn. You learn the foundation. Oh, here's other ways I could get to here. You know, or like, why are we doing this specific move? Okay, here's how I can apply this real submission like this, because now I get the face and having this and being able to work it. Armbar is hard to fucking work once the arm gets extended, like, but there's a lot of shit you can work, like between like a hammer lock and having the double wrist lock hold. Man, there's a ton of shit you can work all through the body. You need to learn why are we doing certain holds in certain ways so that you can see cameras or faces and this and that and work. And then like, oh shit, I can get there like this. Or I can do that. I can do this. Here's a shoot one version of this I can do to get here or transition. But just come in and learn basic fundamental professional wrestling. Everything, the foundation should be built off that. Bring personality and be coachable to come in and learn the foundation. And then your modifications based on if you're a combat sports athlete, in my opinion. But again, what do I know?
I like that answer. Well, dude, before we get to, since you talk about things that are gimmicky and all those kind of things, I got to ask you and get your thoughts on all the shit that we saw last weekend between Paul Tyson. We've already talked a little bit about John Jones, so I'm going to get your thoughts on all that too. But before I do that, you already know the drill. I got to tell you about the other homies who bring you this fine show. Shout out to the sponsors of this fine show, Potter's Tree Service. You don't need a 2x4. You don't need Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Just call Asa Potter and Potter's Tree Service, and you'll be all set. If you need your grass cut, your trees cut, walnut logging, lot clearing, storm damage cleanup. We know we get plenty of that in Michigan. If you need any of those things, just hit up the homies at Potter's Tree Service. As you can see from this video, Ace will get you together, get you chopped up. You'll have firewood and even a 2x4 to clock somebody upside the head with. Use that code, check them out, tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. All right. We brought it up. I got to know, with you being both an MMA guy and a pro wrestling guy, and you and I have talked about this kind of stuff off the air, and you've dabbled with a few of those kind of fights. You got to tell me, dude, what are your thoughts on what we saw last weekend with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul?
You know, I have seen some stuff that makes me question one way or the other. I think a 60-year-old dude coming back and boxing with the guy who's 27 years old, and who I don't think Jake Paul gets the credit that he deserves. And I was not a believer in Jake Paul at first. When he knocked Tyrone Woodley out, I became a believer. And I know people who train him and say the dude trains hard and so forth. Like, guys come in here now, 5-6 years, he's been putting in fucking real work, training competitively, and like taking the sport seriously. And not just that, but like literally probably having most of his life revolve around it. He realized so much of his reputation riding on it. I thought he was going to beat Mike. I thought Mike might have knocked him down early in the fight. And I've heard different things about like a pay structure and blah, 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 which I don't know if they're substantiated or not. But exactly, I mean, that was what I thought was going to happen. I thought we were going to see a little more out of Mike maybe early in the fight. Because he looked great in the first round. I thought Mike might even have won the first round. Not that he whooped on Jake, but like get some good pressure, landed some decent shots. And why he slowed down or what the deal was, I'm not sure. But I knew that when that started happening, Jake was going to start touching that dude. And I think Jake showed mercy at the end if that was a legitimate competitive fight, which I think it probably was. But again, what do I know? But what will I say in terms of show business and the work? The slapping at the weigh-ins was definitely a work. But I love that they did it because so many people talked about it. Everyone was talking about it. And it became, in my opinion, the most probably watched single boxing match of all time.
Well, they said it topped out at 108 million streams.
They crashed the damn servers at Netflix, that's for sure.
And here's something else that's crazy. So, and it was on a 10-minute delay in the social media age. I had to put my phone down so I wouldn't see who won or blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it was that delayed for y'all, but I don't know how you're going to have a sporting event of this social media magnitude and not have it spoiled on, like, if you're sitting in a bar and it's on, someone in that bar is going to be like, holy shit, he knocked him out.
Yeah.
You know, like, in the fight, like, how many different people are going to turn off their TV set before the very end of the fight actually airs because they know what the result is, which surprised me, but, you know, I don't know what those numbers were like, but I think the slap at weigh-ins was fake. It looked too much like a script to me where, like, them saying, like, all right, slap me, you're going to be on this side so we can see the hand touching the face and the handprint on the face. Because there's no denying that he slapped the fuck out of him. But you slap, and you're like, right here, motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, you go back, you're going to pull you back and then come forward. And here's the spot that made it look the fakest to me. Hey, Mike Shelley a little bit, right here, blah, 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 blah. Like, if you're going to smack the fucker, like, smack, what's up, motherfucker? Like, are you going to smack and then, like, start moving back? Like, no, you're right. If it's like that. Smack the fuck, like, I don't know, it seemed that a little strippy, but here's the spot that killed it for me was, as they're coming back, you see Mike Tyson's, like, cornerman, they're, like, red jackets come up, and one of the dudes, like, walks up, and there's, like, no, right there, he's just, like, and I'm like, motherfucker, why did you just put your hand up right now, like, and it made me think that they were probably told, you know, people get in between, you're like, get in between, like, and put your hands up, and this dude, like, walks to the front, he's like, oh, I gotta put my hands up, but I don't know, I think that was the worst, though, I think the fight was real, I think the slap was a work, but I'm not mad at it, bro. It's the entertainment industry, so people should be doing. And I'm stoked those fools made as much money as they did.
I think
I just hope Netflix learned their lesson, upgrade their servers, bro.
They better before they have that Christmas Day football game.
my big
right. Netflix is probably realizing the amount of market that there is in also providing things like sports. They're probably like, holy fuck, 108 million fucking views? Probably unheard of.
Yeah,
they said it was the biggest boxing fight of all time,
probably,
and you got
so I think it's gonna open. Yeah, I bet.
No, well, I was going to say the thing is, not only that, Netflix is going to be a big player in all that streaming stuff for a couple different reasons after this. Because first of all, you've got, like I said, you got the game that's going to play on Christmas that's on Netflix, and then you've also got Monday Night Raw goes to Netflix in January, and that's going to be live every week,
every Monday. They better get it together.
WWE fans don't give a fuck.
But so I think that's a big future for them. That they'll get moving. But also another thing I think we're going to see as a result of coming out of this fight is I think that we will see Jake Paul and Mike Tyson start a Legends Boxing League, which will be guys like Tyson versus Holyfield #3, or like where now you have an organization geared to, or like Roy Jones fought not too long, like where you have a league geared towards legend matchups under exhibition rules that aren't now like fucking for some. And I think that's what we're going to see, that it's specifically geared around, I think it'll be called Legends League, and eventually I think it'll have other stuff besides just Legends. I think it starts with Legends, though. Based my Mike Tyson.
I think that'd be cool as hell.
I think it's going to happen. Right? I think I'd be shocked if that was not already a plan. That's what I think we'll see. That's the biggest takeaway from the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, because Tyson's probably like, holy fuck, yo, I just made so much money, y'all. Here's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Get guys the right fights. They'll have real boxing fights in there. Have some people help them fucking turn them a little bit more dramatic. Or like press conference, because dude, you get some fucking writers and shit like that to help. It doesn't have to be every match needs to be a WWE storyline, but have that for your main event. Have some type of viral moment for your main event, whoever that is. I don't fucking know.
Right.
But
hell yeah, dude.
Again, what the fuck do I know?
What were you gonna say, Corey?
Well, my dog walked in here, so he threw me all off, honestly. But my biggest issue with the whole thing was the fact that they didn't advertise it as an exhibition. They advertised it as this was going to be Tyson's.
Well, that's because it went on his real record.
I know, and that's what you were just saying with the whole Legends fight is if they're going to be real with it, and they're going to be the fact that this is an exhibition. These are two, but this fight was not advertised as that. And I feel like realistically, they're not going to get the amount of viewership that they're hoping for unless they do something like that route, where they're just saying that it's going to be somebody's going to be on the ground here in a couple hours. And these fights never turn out to be that way. And it does. My biggest takeaway, I think, from the Tyson fight is I think a lot of these, goddamn dogs, go. I just hope that a lot of the casual fans and a lot of the especially hardcores like myself that wasted, I feel like, time and effort covering this and giving it media and all that type of stuff. I hope we learned our lesson that at least they're this is what they are. They're not real fights.
Okay, but I got something to say off of your point, though. The one thing I got to give credit where it's due, though, is, okay, maybe the main event was a situation where, okay, we kind of knew what that fight was going to be. But, dude, the fucking undercard on that Barrios and Ramos fight, they beat the shit out of each other. And then Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor was a fucking banger, although I still stick by what I said after watching it. And this is no disrespect to Katie Taylor because she won the other fight too. But I thought Amanda Serrano won that fight. And number two, they took away the 1 point for that headbutt. She headbutted her bad, 4 times. And I remember sitting there damn, how many headbutts is she going to land before this guy takes a fucking
How many can you get away with?
They weren't even get away with. She came in with her head like this and said, bitch.
Yeah. Was creating space with her head.
Totally. That wasn't just it happened in the exchange. She came in like this with her head down and got her ass 4 times.
And that, since we're bringing up that fight, that was by far my standout moment of that night, was that fight. That was an incredible fight from both those women. But that being said, yeah, I agree with you 100%, Kyle. Serrano, she basically won almost every round.
And she dropped her.
Card. And at least in my eyes, and then to deal with the damage that was inflicted from a cut have the point taken away, and then to be able to not really let the cut be that much of a factor in the remaining rounds of the fight. I feel like that. I know that's not how we judge fights or whatever, but the fact that she was able to keep herself protected and land damage throughout the remaining rounds, that meant so much to me as someone watching it, at least. Because once I seen that cut, I forget what round it was exactly. I think it was like the 5th, or I knew like
somewhere between 5 and 7. I don't remember the round.
Yeah, I knew she had a lot of time left to, a lot could go wrong. They were talking about the fact that it could already go to decision there. And I was like, well, honestly, in my eyes, she's winning the fight. So if it goes to decision, who cares type of deal, right? But then to see how it all played out, she ended up not only doing well in my eyes, but like I say, winning the rounds, protecting herself, and continuing to be the more offensive fighter, and I feel like more accurate while being so. It was just such a surprise to me at the end. Boxing's gonna boxing. It ruined such a good fight for me, at least. Yeah.
I get that.
I ain't gonna hold you, dude, because even as a judge and a fighter, like I've been judging fights because I got my judging license and stuff like that. Even looking at it from like a judge's perspective, like I legitimately thought that Serrano won. And like you said, when they took the point away on top of already having the knockdown, I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck are these scorecards if she lost 3 points? For those of you guys who are like novices with the judging thing, anytime you get a knockdown in kickboxing or boxing, you're automatically losing a point. It's a 10-8 round. So that means she already lost 1 point, or 2 points technically, and then you lost another point from the headbutt. That's why when they got to the scorecard, I'm just like, I'm not saying that Katie Taylor should have been like so far behind. Don't mistake what I'm saying. Like Katie Taylor still fought. She had good combinations. Like there's a reason why she was in there and won the first fight too. But dude, I just was like, damn. So she loses 3 points, and Serrano is still landing shots, and she lost. That one had me scratching my head a little bit. But this is where I'll give Jake Paul credit. We've had a lot of people on the show who have worked with him, and then fighters that have, like our guy Ken Bank on it Robles out of New York, that trained with Serrano and them, and talking about the way that he's seen Jake take care of the people that he's got under most valuable promotions. And because of the gate and the viewership that came in because of Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, that is now the most streamed women's fight of all time. It's the most watched women's fight of all time. What up, Jerry? Who's next for Katie? It should be fucking Amanda. It should be fucking Amanda.
Go again.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm totally down with seeing that one a third time, dude. I think that's as good a fight as you can put on to put women in the spotlight, dude. I'm with seeing that a third time. Let's go.
Yeah.
So one thing about that fight that made me wonder about the rest of the card is she's MVP. Serrano girls are fucking Jake's fighters. That's an MVP card. I was like, man, is this a prelude into the type of judging that we may see in the main event if it goes to a decision in the main event?
And his chick lost,
because that was in my opinion. I was like, man, I was like, worst comes to worst, it's a fucking draw. Like, but I thought Serrano won the fight. And so when she lost that much with the point, I was like, how? But
I just didn't understand that.
Yeah,
Jerry,
me neither.
I'm just gonna put this out in the ether right now. If Jake Paul got in the ring with Muhammad Ali's grandson, Nico Ali Wash, Nico would fucking kill Jake. And anyone that thinks otherwise is a dumbass. Like Nico Ali Wash is getting better with every fight. The kid's got a nasty right hand, and he can actually box. And the only time we've seen Jake Paul lose was when he fought Tommy Fury, which I think Tommy Fury's about to end Darren Till, but that's a story for another time. But I think Tommy Fury might sleep his ass, but that's just me. With that being said, dude, I also got to, before we get you out of here, dude, I got to get your thoughts, because there's been something that's been on my mind ever since UFC 309. And I feel like, and I said this when I was watching it, but I truly believe this. I feel like the UFC has really got themselves backed into a corner in the heavyweight division. And I say that for this reason, because if you think about it, if John Jones would have gotten
if John Jones gets the Tom Aspinall fight, Tom Aspinall goes in there and beats him. Now, okay, it's given life to the heavyweight division because now the new young buck is the big star and he beat the big star. But with what we've already seen with Conor McGregor and how him getting in the cage is questionable if it's going to ever happen again, you only really got one other big star right now in the UFC as far as like overall star power, which John Jones coming back at heavyweight, I would say pretty much was that. So if Tom Aspinall fight does happen and Tom Aspinall wins, you've now pretty much, I don't want to say taken John Jones out because it's not like John Jones couldn't like go back and have more fights after that, but it kills that big star. And on the flip side of that, if John Jones and if John Jones goes in there and he beats Tom Aspinall, well, now the heavyweight division is dead because Tom Aspinall's beat every other good heavyweight there is in the UFC heavyweight division. And if John Jones goes in there and let's just say he smokes Tom Aspinall, I don't think that's what happens, but let's just say he goes in there and smokes Tom Aspinall. Well, now all the other heavyweights in that division look less than because Tom Aspinall blew through them all, and John Jones is only in his third fight at heavyweight and just beats him. So I feel like the UFC in a lot of ways is kind of backed into a corner, but I feel like after hearing what Dana said in the post-fight press conference about the fact that he under no circumstances wanted to see John Jones and Poatan, what are your thoughts on that standpoint of the state of the heavyweight division for the UFC and what you think of what we saw from John Jones?
I thought John looked fantastic. I thought John would look fantastic. I thought he was going to make Stipe look. I don't want to necessarily say bad as to shit on Stipe. I just thought it was a very stylistic, tough matchup for Stipe with such a long John Jones who's patient and worked those kicks from the outside. I thought John came in and looked fantastic. Do I think the UFC's kind of backed into a corner? I mean, I'd watch fucking some of the guys in the heavyweight refight and so forth. I don't think John has to do anything. I don't think he owes the sport anything at this point. And I think that he's going to kind of chill and sit back and maybe let Tom Aspinall get tested a little more before he goes and fights. Like, I don't think John has to do anything. John has an incredible legacy, 16 years in the sport, beating a crew of legends and like all kinds of killers. And like one thing he said, he's like, man, they keep telling me about this new prospect that's going to come up, and I keep beating him every single time. And Tom's just going to be the next guy that's the next big thing that I end up beating. Do I think John needs to do it? No. And I would much rather watch John Jones and Alexander Pereira fight. But the thing
really?
is,
Wow.
I think John ended up taking him down and ended up beating him on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't think John's going to exchange crazy with him. You know, the thing is, John's got to get himself inside now, though. I think that John's great with that lead knee stomp and a lot of his lead leg attacks, but or like, and, you know, long range attacks. But I don't think he's going to be able to play that game very long with Poatan. But the thing is, I think if he can get Poatan striking with a little bit, then he just changes levels and takes him down. And as we saw him do to Stipe, he does some damage on top, especially like chopping elbows on the inside. Doesn't really try and fucking pass.
And now he can downward elbow too.
He can't have the Matt Hamill again.
Did they ever take that off his record, Kyle?
No.
No. Are they gonna?
No.
They should.
Because it was before the rule change.
I understand, but come on.
Hey, I'm a Matt Hamill guy, and I fully will be the first to admit that John Jones shouldn't have lost that fight. But to answer your question, Jerry, look, Tom Aspinall's still the interim champ. They have to unify those belts. Dana straight up said that that's what's next. And let's be honest, like you said, I wasn't mad at John for saying he wanted to fight Pereira because, you know, I've always been of the mindset.
Money, bro.
Not only money, but I've always been of the mindset, like, and maybe it's because I come from fighting, but I've always been the mindset that when somebody has a title, and especially in a situation like a John Jones, who's, like you said, is beaten whoever, say a name, and he's probably beat him.
Everybody.
So with that said, I feel like at a certain point, bro, that's got to get you some kind of cachet as far as being able to call your own shot and things like that. The same as how, you know, everybody always says there shouldn't be a thing like a champion's advantage. I disagree. I feel like for you to win in a fight against a champion, you need to beat the champion. You can't just have some shitty close decision and then the champion loses the title because, again, he's the champion. He had to do all that to get the belt, in my opinion, and not to like compare it to pro wrestling, but I've always thought that way. Not that I'm saying there should be a bias. I'm just saying that if you're going to beat the champion and it's not by a knockout or
you want to beat the man, you got to beat the man.
You heard the motherfucker.
You know one
There's
thing
right
from-
behind me. You see the big gold belt over here, man? But like I said, I've always been a big believer of that. But I think, especially in listening to Dana talk about that, and hey, this is another one where, although I may not like everything that Dana does all the time, I mean, if we're really being honest, it's smart business by him too. Because if they do that fight, and let's say they run the BMF or whatever, like let's say John Jones was gonna drop the heavyweight title, and then Tom Aspinall becomes the champion by default. Well, that just took a lot of steam off of Tom Aspinall, number one. And then number two, if he goes in there and let's say he beats Pereira, well, now you just killed the biggest star you got outside of John Jones, and you've like basically like deflated the heavyweight division. So
in my opinion, the thing is with Pereira versus John Jones, now you have just that's the next BMF belt. Heavyweight John Jones against light heavyweight Pereira for the BMF title. That's, in my opinion, the next mega fight to make. You want to talk about dollars? And in my opinion, either guy losing doesn't kill the other guy's career. I think either guy losing to anyone else does. John Jones beats Pereira, and you're like, damn, John Jones was able to get it done. Or Pereira knocks out John Jones, you're like, holy shit, it took fucking Pereira. Not, man, John sucks now. John's washed up. I don't think it goes that way on either guy. I think both guys like, man, it took that dude for a BMF title. That's the fight to build. And Tom Aspinall's going to sit there with his
and it's not even really light heavyweight, a light heavyweight versus a heavyweight. I was listening to, maybe it was DC. I'm trying to remember who was talking about it. Maybe it was DC or maybe it was on like the pre-fight show. But really, bro, if you really think about it, with what John Jones was weighing in at for that Stipe fight, and then what Pereira's weighing in at after he fights these light heavyweight fights, they're really kind of weighing about the fucking same. So you could run that fight, but me personally, although I would really, as far as like which fight do I think probably is going to be like more entertaining, totally think the Pereira fight would be more entertaining just because I think at some point you would get the striking. But ultimately, I think John Jones takes down Pereira, and I think that's eventually how he tried his mode to victory for winning that fight. But I think Dana knows that if he doesn't do something to feed Tom Aspinall, whether that be like what we're going to do with this John Jones fight or something.
Let him sit on his ass. He's not the money man. How many pay-per-views does he sell? Like, how big of a name is this dude? What legacy? And I'm not minimizing Tom Aspinall. I'm just
star-wise, no, he's not nowhere near as big as John Jones.
The massiveness of John Jones. And like not just that, but you got to think about other things in the area. The next BMF fight to make. I mean, you had each of those have been badass matchups of two motherfuckers. Like the next one to make is Connor against somebody or Poatan against John Jones.
I agree with that.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I mean, it just further kind of like cements something that we've been talking about for
the money.
There's no way in hell that Dana's going to let him go to PFL. There's no way in hell, especially after what happened with Francis. There's no way in hell. And of all places he could go, it ain't going to be PFL. Because could you imagine that? So Francis gets away from the UFC, goes and gets paid a fuck ton of money in the PFL. Tom Aspinall makes his way into UFC, goes to PFL and gets paid a fuck ton of money. There's no way in hell Tom Aspinall is going to get to PFL, in my opinion. But dude, I know you got to get out of here. So before we get out of here and get all that, let everybody know where they can check out the fight one more time. And how do you see this fight finishing, and any last words for your opponent?
Yeah, so first, the people that want to watch this live, you can download Lights Out Sports TV app in your Apple store or Google store, wherever. It's free to download. It's the only place that the fight will stream live. It will replay on television on like Bally Sports, where I'm actually on BN Sports Extra right at this exact moment in time. Bally Sports, Swerve, Combat, Fubo, blah, blah, blah. It'll replay a bunch of places, but live, the Lights Out Sports app. And again, it's Saturday, December 7th. Main event for Lights Out Extreme Fighting 21. If you want to follow me on social media, come over to @BulletProofTroop on Instagram or @BigTroop22, or I'm sorry, Facebook.com/BigTroop22 or Instagram @BigTroop22. Or head on over to BulletProofTroop.com. Pick yourself up some merch. I highly recommend tuning into the fight, though, on Saturday, December 7th, because what's my prediction? There will be a warhead dropped on someone's forehead, Kyle. And someone's going, lights out.
You heard it. Lights out. Game over.
No.
Watch out. December 7th. Make sure you check it out. This Saturday, November 23rd, they're going to let me have a fucking microphone and watch somebody get knocked out. Maybe we're going to see another spinning back elbow knockout from Mason Shalahi. You know, I've seen this kid talking a lot of shit heading into this one, so we're going to see what happens. We were talking about this on Tuesday with Joey and James Barney. I heard that there was a $5,000 bet put down on Mason Shalahi, and somebody has picked up said bet. So I'm just saying, there's a lot of money on the floor for these fucking fights. There's going to be a lot of money to be made if you're betting on our guy, Bulletproof Troop. And until next time, and in the in-between time, you heard the man. Check it out. It's going to be lights out. Peace.